At the outset of 1914, a young English music hall entertainer named Charles Spencer Chaplin stepped in front of a motion picture camera for the first time. He did so in a special place, in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. Chaplin's earliest scenes were filmed amid the bustling trolley cars and horse-drawn wagons on Broadway, near First Street, by the former Los Angeles Times building and in the shadow of Court Hill nearby. Chaplin played a role he would never repeat, that of a charming con man for the Mack Sennett Keystone comedy, Making a Living. Chaplin began his movie career at the Keystone Studio, located in the Edendale district of Los Angeles. After enjoying what would be his last holiday season spent in obscurity, Chaplin first reported for work on Monday, January 5, 1914. The primary Sennett filming stage still stands, used today as a public storage warehouse. After completing Making a Living his first week on the job, Chaplin spent that weekend in the nearby beach community of Venice. He appeared there on camera for the first time dressed as a little tramp in a film called Kid Auto Races in Venice. The people watching this scene have absolutely no idea who he is or what he would become. As we'll see throughout this program, because Chaplin shot so often on location, his films not only tell a story, they also capture a real time and place, recording history itself. Here, The Tramp's inaugural film depicts a real-life go-kart race and is likely the only extant record of this event. The homes appearing in the background of the Little Tramp's screen debut still stand today. Hollywood was still mostly rural at the time, and its small commercial district, situated close to the studios, was another popular place to film. Chaplin and Marie Dressler appear here during the 1914 production of Tilly's Punctured Romance, credited as being Hollywood's first feature-length comedy. The scene was filmed near the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Cahuenga. The central building in the background remains relatively unchanged today. Harold Lloyd, best remembered for his thrill comedies such as Safety Last, later filmed the conclusion to his 1923 feature, Why Worry?, at the same Hollywood corner. By 1915, Chaplin had become an international superstar, leaving Sennett to work for the Essanay studio at nearly 10 times the pay. He filmed his Essanay comedy, Work, at the old Bradbury Mansion atop Court Hill, a short block away from where Chaplin began his career with Making a Living. The Bradbury Mansion would later become home to Rollin Studios, where Harold Lloyd and producer Hal Roach made their early comedies. Coming full circle, 20 years later, Chaplin filmed many scenes for his final silent production, Modern Times, just a few blocks from where he began his career filming Making a Living and Work. This time he filmed beside the old gas plants located east of City Hall near Chinatown. The early factory exteriors for Modern Times were filmed beside the Ducommon Street gas plant to the south, while the later factory exteriors were filmed beside the Aliso Street plant 2 blocks to the north. Except for City Hall, built in 1928, these gas storage tanks were the only structures allowed to exceed the city's 150-foot height restriction. The tanks dominated the skyline for 7 decades until they were finally demolished in 1973. At 378 feet, the tallest gas tank stood more than twice as tall as LA's tallest commercial building. This conspicuous landmark appears in dozens of films, including Chaplin's 1921 masterpiece, The Kid, as well as in Buster Keaton's early short comedy, The Goat. As we see here, and again a bit later, the paths of the 3 great kings of comedy, Chaplin, Lloyd, and Keaton, would often intersect. Although poverty and social issues were common Chaplin themes, Modern Times represents the first time he acknowledged the Great Depression on film. Ironically titled, Modern Times was filmed without true dialogue nearly 10 years after the widespread acceptance of talking pictures, and is arguably the last commercially produced movie of the silent film era. Filming on real city streets energized all of the silent comedian's work, but the difficulty and expense of filming with bulky sound equipment precluded most location shooting. Keaton and Lloyd both made several talking feature films during the 1930s, but they worked mostly at the studio, and for many reasons their magic and popularity began to fade. Among the great silent stars, only Chaplin, with his tremendous public appeal and financial independence, could delay the inevitable transition to sound for as long as he did. Modern Times opens with contrasting scenes of workers exiting a subway and a herd of mindless sheep, the lone black sheep suggesting Charlie himself. Chaplin personally directed this simple scene, a task other directors might have delegated to an assistant. The subway sequence was filmed near Chaplin's studio at a pedestrian underpass crossing Melrose Avenue at Formosa. Busloads of extras were hired to play the subway riders, assembled here beside the Chaplin studio at 1416 North La Brea in Hollywood. Today, the Chaplin studio is home to the Jim Henson Company, where Kermit the Frog pays tribute to the studio's original star. After being gated shut for years, the walkway was recently filled in, while the building across the street still stands today. The exterior scenes after Charlie breaks down on the assembly line were filmed on Jackson Street beside the Southern Gas Plant a few blocks from City Hall. Character actress Juana Sutton strides east down Jackson Street along the south side of the plant, unaware that her suggestive outfit will attract Charlie's unwelcome attention. Here, Charlie chases Juana around the corner of the plant from Jackson onto Center Street. Famous for controlling all aspects of his films, Chaplin even assisted with pulling the camera dolly for this scene. Charlie is finally captured and hauled away to a sanitarium. As the ambulance takes off west down Jackson Street toward Center, the side of a gas storage tank appears just down the road on the right. Harold Lloyd used the same setting on Jackson Street 10 years earlier to film a scene for his 1926 feature comedy, For Heaven's Sake. Although similar in appearance to the original building, the gas compressor plant appearing in the film was completely remodeled in the 1950s. This modern view shows the remains of the southern plant along Jackson Street. Later in the movie, the furloughed workers wait to be reassigned their old factory jobs, only to be called back out again on strike. These later scenes were filmed by the northern gas plant 2 blocks away. Starting in the 1890s, the northern Aliso Street plant produced manufactured gas by processing burning coal. It was shut down by the time Chaplin filmed there because it had become possible to import natural gas by pipeline instead. The northern plant was fired back up during World War II to make synthetic rubber, producing the city's first reported smog attack, cutting downtown visibility to just 3 blocks. The setting of these evocative production stills do not appear in the movie, but were taken around the corner from where the factory walkout scene was filmed. They are likely the only extant photos of this long-demolished factory seen in the background. The waterfront settings appearing in the picture were all filmed at Terminal Island near Wilmington and Long Beach. Chaplin built an elaborate waterfront set at the northwest corner of the island across from slip number 5. Because there was no need to record any sound or dialogue, Chaplin was able to film freely at this thriving seaport, even as large ships passed nearby in the background. Location filming was far easier during the silent era because there was no concern about ambient noise and far less equipment was required. Modern Times introduces a new character, the Gamine, a joyous spirit described by Chaplin as the little tramp's partner in crime. Played by Paulette Goddard, the Gamine first appears handing out stolen bananas to a group of hungry children. The banana scene was filmed at Fish Harbor on Terminal Island, once home to a thriving fish packing industry. At the time, thousands of Japanese-American fishermen and their families lived in a segregated village nearby, only to lose their homes and boats after being relocated to internment camps during World War II. The fish-packing plants closed one by one following the war. Today, Fish Harbor stands like a waterfront ghost town. As the gamine savors her stolen fruit, we see the former clubhouse and tower of the California and Los Angeles yacht clubs in the background. This picturesque setting is nearly 4 miles from where Paulette stole the bananas. The clubhouse was commandeered by the Coast Guard during World War II and was demolished sometime later. The tramp and the gamine set up house on Terminal Island in a shack built beside the Cerritos Channel. As Charlie takes his morning dip, the Ford Motor Assembly Plant and the Ford drawbridge linking Terminal Island to Wilmington appear in the background. Joseph Strauss, famous for designing the Golden Gate Bridge, designed the Ford Bridge so that large counterweights, or bascules, would raise and lower the roadway. Now demolished, the Ford Bridge was the largest bascule bridge in the world. As director, Chaplin strategically placed the shack within view of the Ford and Edison plants, a stark reminder of the relentless industrialization closing in on the little tramp's world. The Ford Motor Plant opened in 1930, providing 2,100 desperately needed good-paying jobs. This photo was taken in 1936, a few months after Modern Times premiered. The Ford assembly line, pictured here, influenced Chaplin's art direction for the movie. Eager for a job, the tramp races back to work towards the Southern California Edison power plant at the east end of Terminal Island. First opened in 1911, this towering landmark has been rebuilt and expanded over the years and still stands today. We can see once again where Chaplin staged his various scenes of Terminal Island. Hauled away in a police wagon, Charlie travels along a famous block of Hollywood Boulevard, starting from the Broadway department store at the corner of Vine Street to the Security Bank at the corner of Cahuenga. The Broadway department store is portrayed later in the film as the place where the tramp lands a job as a night watchman. The Security Bank building also appears briefly during a dizzy montage following the tramp's release from the hospital. Coming full circle once again, Chaplin filmed these scenes near the same corner where he filmed Tilly's Punctured Romance, but from a different vantage point. This corner of Hollywood and Cahuenga was common ground for the kings of comedy as well. Harold Lloyd filmed the Security Bank for scenes from his 1924 feature, Girl Shy. Meanwhile, just south of the same corner, Buster Keaton filmed one of his most famous stunts for his 1922 short film, Cops. Returning to the Modern Times police wagon, Charlie and Paulette are able to escape when the wagon swerves to avoid an oncoming car and spills over. This shot was filmed in West Los Angeles, looking south down Sawtell Boulevard towards the corner of West Massachusetts Avenue. Turning the corner, the couple run east down West Massachusetts from the corner of Sawtell. Here, Charlie greets Paulette with news of his new job, filmed along the Vine Street side of the Broadway building, just down the corner from Hollywood Boulevard. Notice the Hollywood Walk of Fame stars, now embedded in the sidewalk. The conclusion of Modern Times was filmed about 45 miles from Hollywood, near the town of Acton, along the Sierra Highway. Chaplin used a small army of crew and equipment even for this simple scene of the couple resting beside the road, a far cry from just 20 years prior, when only a camera and tripod were needed. The Little Tramp's final on-screen words offer encouragement to a nation still reeling from the Great Depression. As the Little Tramp leaves us for the last time, he's no longer alone, but with a female counterpart, eager to share in his next adventure. The open road before them is no longer a dirt path, but a modern paved highway. This farewell scene not only marks the Little Tramp's final appearance on film, but arguably the concluding shot of the entire silent film era. As a pioneering artist and the silent era's greatest star, it is altogether fitting that Chaplin should have the honor of drawing that magic era so poignantly to a close.